Shri Gurudev. Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to 8th Standard Science online class. Dear students, as we know that a human body is made up of multicellulars, which means the human body is also an example for multicellular organism. Why? Because our human body is also made up of a huge number of cells. So that huge number of cells that will be performs various biological and metabolic activities in our body. So in the previous lesson we have discussed the different kinds of cells or the different kinds of organ systems that will be specifically meant for specific work. So that is, we call it as division of labor. Dear students, in the previous class, we have discussed the separate special organ systems. So that will be very helpful and that will be play a major role in the metabolic activities like digestion, circulation, excretion, and respiration. So these are all the four major life process activities that we are discussed in the previous class. Dear students, one more very important life process activity that we call it as reproduction. So what do you mean by reproduction? How the reproduction will be takes place in unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms? So these are all we are going to discuss in this session. Yes, dear students, that will be very important concept, that is we call it as reproduction. So it is also one of the major life process activity that will be held in each and every living organism. So dear students, what do you mean by reproduction and what type of reproductions are there? How many types of the reproductions are there? So what are the process or what are the phenomena that will be takes place in the reproduction? Yes, these are all the concepts we are going to discuss in the lesson reproduction in animals, or how organisms reproduce. Yes, dear students, reproduction is nothing but it is a process by which living organisms produce a new individual of the same species. So reproduction is nothing but any one organism or any one living organism that will be gives the birth to the young ones or the same species. So species is nothing but, for example, the cow will be gives the birth to the young cow only. If you take the cat also will be give the birth to the same cat only. So this is we call it as reproduction. So reproduction is nothing but, dear students, it is a process by which living organisms produce new individuals of the same species. So that is what we call it as reproduction. So this, why the reproduction is also called as one of the major life process activity. Why? Because, dear students, reproduction is necessary for the survival and reproduction is very necessary for increase the population of a particular species. As we know that, students, each and every living organism has its own lifespan. So if the completion of the lifespan, if any one organism will be completed his lifespan, means what will happen? That organism become dead. Is it right? If the reproduction does not take place, what will be happen? The population of a specific species will become decreases and finally that collapsed. And that family or the particular group of organisms, they become collapsed. Is it right? No. So that will be leads decreasing of a population of a particular species, that will be leads economic imbalance. So that will be leads economic imbalance. That's why so reproduction is also one of the major life process activity that will be takes place in each and every living organism for the survival and as well as increasing of their population. Understand now, the students? Yes. So how many types of the reproductions are there? What kind of a reproduction will be takes place in unicellular organisms? What kind of the reproduction that will be takes place in multicellular organisms? Yes. So that we are going to discuss now. Yes, dear students. So types of reproduction. Mainly in the reproduction, there are two main types of the reproductions in that will be takes place in living organisms. So what we call it as? First one we call it as asexual reproduction. Second one what we call it as sexual reproduction. How many types of the reproductions are there, dear students? Yes, there are two types of the reproduction in the living organisms. First one is asexual reproduction. Second one is sexual reproduction. So what do you mean by asexual reproduction? So reproduction is nothing but giving the birth to the young ones. Right? No. So in that there are the two types of the reproductions are there. So that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction is nothing but it is a kind of a reproduction in which the new individual will be produced by using single parent only. So asexual reproduction means it is a kind of a reproduction that will be takes place and the new individual or any new species or new organism that is produced by the help of single parent only. So that is what we call it as asexual reproduction. I hope you understand the meaning of asexual reproduction. Best example for the asexual reproduction are binary fission, budding, spirogyra. These are all the best example for the asexual kind of the reproduction. So if you come to the second type of the reproduction, that is sexual reproduction. What do you mean by sexual reproduction? What is the difference between the asexual and sexual reproduction? Yes, my dear students, listen carefully. Sexual reproduction is a kind of a reproduction in which the new species that will be produced by the help of two parents. I hope you understand now. Reproduction is sexual reproduction is kind of a reproduction or it is a type of the reproduction in which a new individual is produced by the help of two parents. So the two parents what we call it as male and female. So male gametes, fusion of male gamete and fusion of female gamete, as a result that will be produces new individual or new organism. So such a kind of a reproduction what we call it as sexual reproduction. So what is the difference between the asexual and sexual reproduction? As dear students, in the asexual we will be observe only one parent. So by the help of the one parent only, that new individual will be produced. If you come to the sexual reproduction, so it will be requires two parents, that is a male parent and as well as female parent. So best example for the sexual reproduction is human beings is also a kind of a good example for the sexual reproduction. As my dear students, in the asexual reproduction, we will be identify different types of the asexual reproductions. So best example for that one, different kinds of one, that is a fusion, budding, regeneration, fragmentation, spore formation and vegetative propagation. These are all the best kind of asexual reproduction that will be held in our day-to-day life and in our surroundings. So how the fusion will be takes place, how the budding will be takes place, how the regeneration will be takes place. These are all the concepts now we are going to discuss deeply. Yes, dear students, fission. See, fission is also a kind of a asexual reproduction by which a unicellular organisms divides and forms two or more new individuals. So I hope you understand the meaning of fission. So fission is nothing but it is a type of a asexual reproduction that will be takes place in unicellular organisms. How the reproduction will be takes place in the unicellular organisms, just I hope you understand easily while observing the picture now. See, here there is some one amoeba is there. So that is a one amoeba. So at the time of the fission, what will be happen? So it is at the reproduction time that cells, the nucleus become doubled. We hope you understand, no? In the third picture, what is that? That entire body after the separation of the nucleus in the amoeba body, so that entire body has been divides and forms as a separation in the fourth and fifth picture, and the last picture that will be shows the separation of the both mother amoeba and as well as daughter amoeba. So this is we call it as fission. So it is nothing but separation from the mother cell and daughter cell. So this is we call it as fission. So here in the fission we will be identify there are the two types of the fissions, that is a binary fission and multiple fission. So binary fission means it is a method of an organism divides and forms two individuals. So what will be happen? In the example we discussed right now, that in the amoeba will becomes under the binary fission. So in that organism divides and forms as a two individuals. So what is the first step that will be takes place here? The first step is first nucleus is divides into two nuclei. Whatever the mother nucleus is there, that will be automatically divides and forms as a two nuclei. The two nuclei what we call it as mother nucleus and daughter nucleus. Then entire body, then the cytoplasm divides and forms into two daughter cells. So whatever the body of the amoeba after division or after proper growthing and division of the nucleus and forms as a two nucleus. So after the completion of division of the nucleus, so entire amoeba body and including the cytoplasm, that is a cytoplasm is nothing but the fluid medium present in the cell. Okay, so that cytoplasm along with the entire amoeba body that will be separated and that will be forms as a mother cell and daughter cell. So both the mother cell and daughter cells will be grow and survival in the various hosts in individually. This kind of reproduction we call it as binary fission. This binary fission is a kind of asexual reproduction. So best example for the binary fission means amoeba and paramecium. Paramecium is also that entire body will be divides and forms as a mother cell and daughter paramecium cell. So like that the binary fission will be takes place. So which means only at the time of the binary fission, so that cell will be divides into two only. The number of the cells that will be divides into two numbers only, that is a mother cell and a daughter cell. So the second type of the fission is multiple fission. Dear students, multiple fission is also a method or one kind of asexual reproduction. Here, any one organism that will be divides into many daughter cells, that will be divides into many daughter cells. Such a kind of reproduction, what we call it as multiple fission. The best example for the multiple fission is Plasmodium. So that Plasmodium vivax is a kind of a binary fission, it is a kind of a virus that will be causes malaria disease to us. So in the Plasmodium, the multiple fission that will be takes place, so which means only one cell will be divides into two more than two cells. Such a kind of a reproduction we call it as multiple fission. I hope you understand the different kinds of the fissions. There are the two types, binary fission and multiple fission. Binary fission means that mother cell divides into two cells. Multiple fission cell means that one organism or the one cell will be divided into two more daughter cells, more than two daughter cells. That is what we call it as multiple fission. Best example for the binary fission is amoeba. Multiple fission example is Plasmodium. I hope you understand, my dear students. Yes, next one more very important kind of the asexual reproduction, that is what we call it as budding. What do you mean by budding? Yes, the budding is nothing but a kind of a asexual reproduction. In this method, a bud-like projection is formed on the body of the organism. Then later, that bud only develops into new individuals. It will be separates from the parent and forms as a independent individual. I hope you understand the first picture, that is a hydra. Just observe here. In the first picture of the hydra, there is a bud formation will be takes place. So what will be happen in the second picture? Keep on growing or keep on development of the hydra. The bud formation also starts growing separately. After the budding reproduction, what will be happen? In the third picture you are observing, so separation of the budding or the new organism will be takes place. In the fourth picture, the separation will be, and that will be starts growing individually. So like this, the budding will be takes place. So budding is a kind of a asexual reproduction. So that bud, in that method, the bud-like projections is formed on the body of the organism. That bud then develops into a new individuals. Later, after the separation of the budding or the separation of the projection, that entire body will be starts growing individually. The best example for the budding is hydra. Yeast is also, that is a kind of a asexual reproduction will be takes place in the yeast. So then even the hydra is also one kind of a unicellular organism that will be in that hydra also the budding will be takes place. I hope you understand this kind of a asexual reproduction. Yes, dear students, one more very important kind of a asexual reproduction, that is we call it as regeneration. What do you mean by regeneration? So it is a kind of a asexual reproduction. In this method, a part of the body, if the organism cut or broken up, so again that has a capability to develop into new individual. Best example for the regeneration is planaria and starfish. Planaria is a best example for the regeneration kind of asexual reproduction. Even starfish is also will be undergoes regeneration process for its reproduction. Yes, dear students, just observe it carefully. In the picture, planaria, first picture. So what is that? It is a one kind of planaria. Is it right? No. So this planaria is a mother planaria. Here, unfortunately, the planaria will be cut up into three parts. Head region, trunk region and the tail part. Head part, trunk part and tail part. So which means a planaria na ಮೂರು ಭಾಗಗಳಾಗಿ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. So, as we know that in the regeneration phenomenon, what will be happen? That statement, it is a kind of a asexual reproduction. Here, the part of the body of an organism cut or broken down, so that has a capability to develop into new individual. That is, we call it as regeneration. So here, for example, that is a mother planaria that will be, it is a mother planaria, it is a mother planaria that unfortunately cut it into three parts. So that is what we call it as head region, tail region, and then head region, trunk region, and tail region. So what will be happen in the third picture? So you are observing right now. So what will be happen? That head region will be grown up other parts. ಸೊ ಹೆಡ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಕಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಮಿಕ್ಕಿರುವಂಥ ಟ್ರಂಕ್ ರೀಸನು ಮತ್ತು ಟೈಲ್ ರೀಸನನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಟ್ರಂಕ್ ಪಾರ್ಟು ಮತ್ತು ಟೈಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನ ದಟ್ ಪ್ಲನೇರಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಎ ಕೇಪಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಟು ರೀಜನರೇಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಟ್ರಂಕ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಪಾರ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಗೇನ್ ದಟ್ ಹೆಡ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಟೈಲ್ ರೀಸನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಗ್ರೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ದ ಟೈಲ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಕಟ್ ಆಫ್, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಎ ಕೇಪಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಟು ಗ್ರೋನ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಟ್ರಂಕ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಹೆಡ್ ರೀಸನ್. ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆ ಪ್ಲನೇರಿಯಾನ 3 ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಆ 3 ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸು ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗ್ರೋನ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ನ್ಯೂ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ರೀಜನರೇಷನ್. The next one is fragmentation. So dear students, the fragmentation is also kind of asexual reproduction. In this method, the body of the simple multicellular organisms break up into smaller pieces on the maturation, and each fragment develops into new individuals. Best example for the fragmentation is Spirogyra. I hope you understand this picture. It is a fragments. So here what will be happen? So keep on growing, there is a fragment is there. So when they become matures, this fragment will be separated from the mother, and this fragment is separated from the mother and starts growing individually. This kind of a reproduction we call it as fragmentation. So best example for the fragmentation is Spirogyra. Then the Spirogyra, the mother cell, after the division of the nucleus, that entire body that will be broken up into different parts or different smaller pieces. So that small pieces will be starts growing individually and forms as a new daughter cells. This is we call it as fragmentation. Yes, my dear students, in this class we are discussed about the various kinds of asexual reproduction. Dear students, is there any clarification regarding today's topic? Please send a message through WhatsApp or make a phone call. I am ready to clarify all your doubts. Complete the given homework in time and send to WhatsApp without fail. Thank you. Jai Shri